everyone, I'm Rinsey and this is Rinsey Reads. Today I'm going to be doing a book tag / discussion. I've seen this a couple of different ways. The book rat Misty posted about it back in June as sort of one of her discussions for the month, and then I've seen a bunch of other people talking about it. So I'm just going to leave a bunch of links down below of different people who have had this sort of tag or discussion. Basically it talks about underrated or unknown books, especially within the booktuber community is what I'm going to be talking about. This is all pretty self-explanatory. These are just books that I absolutely love that I feel like needs more attention and more hype. The first is a young adult series, and it is the Secret Society books. I think I've talked about these in a previous video, but this is a 4-book series: The Secret Society Girl, Under the Rose, Rites of Spring Break, and Cap and Gown. These books are by Diana Petrofrund. I have no idea how to say her last name. This story takes place in Ivy League university called Eli University. It's basically like Yale without calling it Yale. There's this one society called Rose and Grave, which has been a male-only secret society since its existence, but this year it decides to open it up for girls. There's just a lot of craziness that happens because, some people within the society didn't want to open up to females, and a lot of the alumni don't like the fact that there are females now in the society. I really enjoyed these books because I like anything that sort of takes place at private schools or Ivy League universities for some reason. Like, I always really like those books and stories and TV shows and movies. So I really liked it for that reason, and I also really liked it for this whole secret society idea. Also, the characters in here are really cool. Within the 4 books, you see a lot of growth and change within these characters. There are characters that I hated in the first book that I ended up loving by the end of the 4th book, which I think is really cool because you don't see that in a lot of young adult series. Everyone doesn't stay the same. The stories aren't exactly the same. You follow this over the course of 2 years, I believe. I think like each book is approximately like a semester. There's a lot that happens without it being overly repetitive or crazy. The next set of books is another young adult series, and it's called The President's Daughter series by Ellen Emerson White. This is another 4-book series. It's The President's Daughter, White House in Autumn, or White House Autumn, Long Live the Queen, and Long May She Reign. The way I typically describe these books are The West Wing, but for young adults, and following the president's daughter as opposed to following like the president. I really like politics, and I really like The West Wing and stories about the White House, things like that, so this series obviously appeals to me in that way. Honestly, I feel like if you liked the stories of the West Wing, you would like this book because sometimes I really felt like I was following Abby from the West Wing, the daughter. I felt like I was basically just like seeing her life unfold within these books because there are a lot of similarities. I don't want to give away too much about the story, but it does have to deal with the first woman president being elected into office, which I thought was really interesting too, just dealing with the whole idea of what sexism and biases that a first female president would have to deal with, and that obviously her daughter having to deal with those things as well as she's growing up. The daughter in this is in high school when she gets elected, and it follows it. I think each book is a year within office, approximately, possibly over 3 years, and because I think the first book is before she gets elected. The next book that I wanted to show was The True and Outstanding Adventures of the Hunt Sisters by Elizabeth Robinson. This story follows 2 sisters, and it's written in letter form, so each section is like a letter back and forth to each sister. I think this is a really good book for sisters or anyone who has sisters because I feel like it's really relatable in that way. I really, really love this book, and you can kind of tell like my copy is really worn out because I keep lending it to people to borrow because I feel like it's such a good book. The next book is A Bridge of Sighs by Richard Russo. Richard Russo is probably best known for his book Empire Falls, which is another really, really great book. I think he won the Pulitzer for it or was nominated, but I really like this book as well. I loved Empire Falls, but this is an underrated book. Richard Russo is really great at talking about sort of small town experiences and making you feel like you're really part of the town when you're reading about these books. He goes into so much description. It's a really great adult book, which if you haven't had a lot of exposure to adult books, I definitely recommend reading some Richard Russo. I think he's good for when you're first starting out in adult books. These are stories about small towns, so it has that sort of small town feel to them. But I think that's part of the reason why I love it so much. The next is The Well in the Mine by Jen Phillips. It takes place in Alabama during the 1930s, and the main character sees a woman tossing her baby into a well, and then everything kind of changes in the town from that point forward. I think this is really good if you like stories about the South and, again, small towns. I guess I have sort of an affinity for small towns. It reminded me a lot of To Kill a Mockingbird, or I've seen a lot of people compare the writing to Kill a Mockingbird, which is probably why I like this book so much, because To Kill a Mockingbird is my favorite book of all time. So if you like stories like that, or there's an introduction in here by the author who wrote Fried Green Tomatoes, so if you like stories like that, I think you would really, really like this book. The final book is How to Breathe Underwater by Julie Oringer. This is a collection of short stories, and the reason why I'm including this is because I'm not really big on short stories. I generally don't like them because I feel like they're too short, or I feel like just when I'm getting invested in characters or what's happening, the story's over. So I usually don't like short stories, but I really, really love this collection of short stories. I believe this would be classified as YA short stories, but it follows like 9 different people. I think every story was really great, but I of course have particular ones that really stuck out to me. Even if you're not into short stories, I think this is a really great collection, because I'm not really into short stories, but I really love this collection. Feel free to leave comments down below if you read any of the books that I mentioned, or if you have certain books that you feel are really underrated or underknown. Feel free to leave comments about that as well, and maybe I'll be able to check those out sometime soon. I'd love to see what people's favorite books are that aren't necessarily like everyone's favorite. Just a quick note, I did the drawing for the giveaway, and I'll leave a link down below and I'll annotate here as well to that video. I did it as a video so that way the people who are in it could see me picking it, but I knew it wouldn't be enough to do its own separate video, so I left it as an unlisted video. So I'll just link to it if you guys are interested in watching. I mean, I've already contacted the person who won, so they already know, but if you really wanted to see me do a random.org pull, then you can watch that video as well, but I have that available. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching. It takes place, but the story takes place, I keep doing this with my hand. And also, there's also, the final book is How to Breed Other, my favorite book is To Kill a Moth, like I always say, my favorite book is To Kill a, why can't I talk?